Howdy folks, hope you're all having a good one. Welcome back to World of Warships with Rear Admiral Jingles. And we have something of a theme developing in this week's World of Warships videos. I wonder if you can guess what it is. Because I am nothing if not a benevolent, evil gnome overlord, I'll even give you a little clue. The title is a teeny little bit of a giveaway. While you're all wrapping your heads around that one, let's have a big salt mines welcome for the hero of today's battle. This is the homeless dude. Yes, that is his name. And he's in the French Tier 10 battleship, La République. It's a bit of a weird ship. I mean, don't get me wrong, it's a very, very good ship. But it's still kind of weirdly French. And that's mainly down to the calibre of the main battery guns. Before we get any further into that, however, and what is uniquely French about this ship, it's time for a word from today's video sponsor. Today's video sponsored by Opera GX, the infinitely customizable browser designed with gamers in mind. Speaking of games, I've been very, very happy with the Opera GX Cyberpunk mods that I've been running, but I felt like it was time for a change, and since I've been doing a lot of Horizon Forbidden West lately, I took a quick look over at the GX mod store, and sure enough, a Horizon Forbidden West browser mod for Opera GX, and like everything else at the mod store, 100% free of charge. And I can mix and match the mod features that I want at any particular time from the Easy Setup tab over here on the right hand side of the screen. But it does a lot more than just allow you to swap out whichever animated background you happen to like the look of at any given moment. You can control almost all of Opera GX's unique features from this Easy Setup tab without having to open individual screens in order to control each function directly, like controlling the amount of resources that Opera GX is able to use, integration with your favourite games, privacy features like the built-in ad blocker and tracking cookie blocker, and access to control of the AI services, like the built-in ChatGPT functionality, which, because I'm extremely lazy, I'm going to use to extol the virtues of Opera GX for me, because that's the whole point, isn't it? Making things easy. While the AI is doing my job for me, what? It's not like you haven't seen an AI generated video on YouTube before. I mean, honestly, the platform's swarming with the things these days. But while Opera's doing a pretty good job of actually promoting itself here, it occurred to me that I can also use this integrated ChatGPT functionality to replace the visuals as well, by getting Opera to generate a graphic that summarises exactly what it is that Opera is good for. And there it is. As easy as that. What a time to be alive. And you know what, it's not bad. And you can have all of this and more absolutely free by just heading over to operagx.gg/jingles7 or just click the link in the video description. No coupon code, nobody's asking you any money for this. All it's going to cost you is a download, so why not break up with your basic browser today and get Opera GX by clicking the link. Welcome back. And what is it exactly that's so very French about the République? This ship is not armed with 16-inch guns. It's not armed with 18-inch guns. This ship is armed with 17-inch guns. Because that's just what the French do, isn't it? What's that? Everybody else's navies are using 16 or 18-inch guns? Well, we're going to go with 17. What do you mean, why? Because vive la France. And honestly, I can kind of respect that, actually. I realise I'm English, and I'm supposed to mock the French at every available opportunity, but I do have a grudging amount of respect for the way they just do things differently. And not for any good reason, just because they don't like doing things the way everybody else does. What's that? You're still mounting the guns of your tanks on trunnions and elevating and depressing the gun by moving the gun itself? How very 1940s of you. Well, you have fun with that. We're going with oscillating turrets. We're elevating and depressing the gun by moving the entire turret. Sometimes, though, this contrarian and very, very French approach does actually pay dividends. I'm going slightly off topic here, but the primary reason why the British never adopted high explosive anti-tank ammunition in their tanks when everybody else was using it was because it necessitated switching from rifled to smoothbore tank guns. Because high explosive anti-tank ammo, you can't spin it in the same way that you do regular tank ammunition, otherwise it becomes unstable and loses accuracy. But the French, because they're French, were the only Western nation that still used rifled tank guns and high explosive anti-tank ammunition, because they actually came up with an ingenious way of making it work. They put their high explosive anti-tank rounds into a canister, and I think the canister was lined with ball bearings or something, and what it meant was that when you fired the canister down a rifled tank gun, the canister would spin, but the heat projectile in it wouldn't. How very French! And it worked. And so they got the best of both worlds. I mean, being awkward just for the sake of it, while being very, very French, is, yeah, sometimes it pays off. Not strictly relevant, of course, to the subject of today's video, but I thought it was something that you might find interesting and amusing. Oh, big hit. In fact, he's done nothing but big hits so far. That was just the third salvo he's fired. And he's almost done 60,000 damage. Pretty much every time he's pulled the trigger on these guns thus far, he's scored nearly 20,000 damage. That Citadel was on the Almirante Oquendo, by the way, which is a Tier 9 Spanish heavy cruiser. It's the current dockyard ship, and the fact that somebody's already sailing one around when there's still 4 weeks to go and dockyard progression means somebody's been spending money. Which is fine. I mean, it's your money, do what you want with it. These guns are very good, by the way. Weird French caliber or not, they clap. Extremely high penetration. Which can be a bit of a problem, particularly if you're shooting at light cruisers, because you do tend to get nothing but over penetrations. Even if you hit the Citadel, sometimes the shells will just go right through before they arm and do full damage. But against battleships and the more heavily armoured cruisers, these things kick ass. They'll also overmatch 30mm of armour plating, which isn't terribly useful against battleships. But if a cruiser finds itself staring down these 17-inch gun barrels, all 8 of them, and thinks, haha, I will go bow in, it's not going to work. Because they'll go right through. I mean, I don't think that, aside from some of the Russians that have like 50mm icebreaker bows, I don't think there's a cruiser in the game that isn't getting overmatched bow on, staring down the barrels of these monsters. The guns have great range, they're very accurate by battleship standards, the armour-piercing shells have fantastic penetration, and the guns only have a base 24-second reload. The homeless dude has actually gotten that down to, I think, 21 seconds with a combination of captain skills and equipment. And that's before the adrenaline rush skill kicks in. Towards the end of this battle, after taking some damage, he's going to have the reload of these guns down to about 18 seconds. And if that isn't enough to keep cruiser captains awake at night in a cold sweat, I don't know what is. Hey, the team have just scored their first kill. I mean, I'm trying to sound excited, but it's not actually a cause for celebration because it cost them 3 ships to do it. And they only have the 1 cap circle. The homeless dude, however, just claims the team's second kill and his first. Unfortunately, again, not exactly a cause for celebration, because then the enemy team immediately knock out another of his team's destroyers, meaning the homeless dude's team now only has 1 surviving destroyer. And if you're in a battleship, that is not good news. Despite his 105,000 damage scored so far, his team are about 150 points, 1 cap circle and 2 kills behind. See if we can get that gross occur first. I mean, it would be a shame to let him get away. It's a very powerful ship. You do not want to let him get away. Start recovering health, and there it is. Good stuff. Okay, kill number 2. Oh, there's the Almirante Oquendo again. Hello, big spender. Cover your eyes, kids. Cruelty to heavy cruisers. Oof. Damn, he was lucky to survive that, but there goes the secondaries. Yeah, he's got it. I'm about halfway to unlocking that thing in the dockyard. I'm not really sure I want it. It does seem to get citadeled very easily. But, well, you know, again, not a cause for celebration. RNGesus giveth and RNGesus taketh away. He got the Almirante Oquendo. And he's now flipping the cap circle at Alpha, yes, in a battleship. But his team just lost at Seattle. Oh, and did we mention there's a carrier in play? But this will be fine. Let us not forget that amongst its many other virtues, the Republique is described in the World of Warships wiki page as having, and I quote, very strong anti-aircraft defences. So here they go. Priority AA sector activated. Oh, he's got 2 of them. He's got 3 of them. Takes 10,000 damage in a fire anyway. And that, by the way, was with very strong anti-aircraft defences, overlapping fields of fire from the Moskva behind him, and fighter cover provided by his team's own carrier. I'll leave it to you to draw your own conclusions about exactly how much very strong anti-aircraft defences are worth in this game. You should be able to get this cap though. I mean, even if the carrier comes back, it's not going to be able to reset him and the Moskva at the same time. Can it? Oh, the team have just lost their Neptune, leaving them 2 kills and nearly 200 points behind. Oh, and the carrier is coming back. Torpedo bombers this time. It'll be fine. He has very strong anti-aircraft defences. He's got a Moskva right next to him. Well, they've taken the cap circle. At least the carrier isn't going to be able to reset it. Who's he going for? Is that him or the Moskva? It's difficult to say. No, actually, I think he's going for the friendly Mecklenburg, which is, I'm sure, a welcome relief, because right now, the homeless dude has his own problems. That's a Satsuma. Japanese Tier 10 super battleship. And it's armed with not 16-inch guns, not 17-inch guns, not 18-inch guns. That thing has 20-inch guns. Fortunately, right now, none of them appear to be pointing in this direction, which is kind of bizarre. I mean, the Satsuma knows he's here, right? He was spotted by the carrier, but it still comes out broadside on in front of a Republique. And the Satsuma has really big guns. It's a Yamato with 20-inch guns. And it has the Yamato's armour. And the Yamato is not famous for having good armour. Which is a long-winded way of saying that Satsuma has just made a critical error of judgment. Yeah, there he goes. Why would you do that? Oh, hang on. Very strong AA defences again. There goes another 10,000 health. But hey, look on the bright side. No fire this time. And there's the carrier. Oh, and he's got him banked to rights. Broadside midway, spotted in open water, all 8 guns ready to go. Come on, baby, let's get some payback. And... well, it wasn't nothing. Let's try again. Remember, these guns do have a very, very fast reload. Almost ready to go. Midway's turning away. That just means that there shouldn't be any over-penetrations. So come on, let's see what happens here. And that's actually less damage than before. The thing you have to remember about the Midways is they do have armoured flight decks, but I mean, let's not get carried away here. It's not a battleship turned on its side, it's only 87mm, and this ship paddles cruisers. That's cruiser armour. Should be just enough to ensure that these shells arm and don't over-penetrate. Yeah, and they all pretty much hit the flight deck. 8 shots, 7 hits, 5 ricochets. Okay, he's got a broadside Zao to shoot at. Now, the Zao only has 30mm of belt armour. So if 17-inch armour piercing is just going to shatter on 87mm of deck armour, surely they're just going to over-penetrate on double citadel, 38,000 damage. Wargaming really just don't like you hurting their aircraft carriers, do they? I can already see the comments from all the aircraft carrier apologists. Oh, Jingles, stop going on about aircraft carriers. If you don't like it, don't play the bloody game. Well, tell you what. They stop being bullshit, I'll stop complaining about them. How about that? That seems like a fair compromise to me. Meanwhile, while I was having a good whinge about aircraft carriers in general, and the USS Midway in particular, the homeless dude's team are down to 3 surviving ships. He's done 238,000 damage here. Wasn't allowed to kill the carrier, of course. And he's going to pay for that because it's coming back. Don't worry, he's got very strong anti-aircraft defences, and he's also still got that Moskva backing him up. I guess he's going to have to just dodge. To be fair, he's done a pretty good job of just dodging. Although that was a remarkably poor drop from the Midway. But don't worry, he'll be back very soon. So there's just the 3 of them left. The homeless dude in the Republique, the Moskva, and yep, here come the rocket attack planes, and the Maine, which is a super ship. But here's the thing I don't get. He's done 244,000 damage so far, and he's done that for 2 reasons. 1, he's pretty good, and 2, the enemy aren't exactly making things difficult for him. Case in point here being the Thunderer. Now the Thunderer's doing almost exactly what the Satsuma did earlier, and there's another 10,000 damage from the rocket attack planes, with the difference that the Thunderer does at least have his guns pointing in the right direction. But he never fired them. He came out broadside on in front of a Moskva and a Republique without his guns loaded. Why would you do that? And yet they're winning. That's what I don't understand. Oh, and there's those strong AA defences in action again. Not enough to stop a second strike from the same attack squadron. He gave the Thunderer a good paddling. He was able to finish off the Groningen. The Moskva's gone down, but oh look, here's another cruiser. In secondary range, running aground, broadside on, in front of his 17-inch guns. And there's another paddling. Do you see my point here? Do you see what I'm getting at? Maybe you don't. Let me just spell it out for you. He has done... Wait for it. Let's get it. Let him get the second salvo off against the Seattle. And then we'll... Yeah, there it is. Okay, so 6 kills, 298,000 damage. Against a whole parade of enemies. And he's just gotten spanked from the air again. Strong anti-aircraft defences or not. A whole parade of enemies that just insist on coming out and giving him a massive flat broadside to shoot at what has mostly been point-blank range. And getting absolutely paddled for their pains as a result. He's done 300,000 damage. And he's losing. Just how spectacularly shit must the rest of his team have been for this situation to be possible? I mean, his opponents aren't exactly Lord Admiral Nelson here, right? The Zhao's set of fire. Oh yeah, the San Martin's going to finish him off. You see? It's not that hard, is it? You wait until he's fired, and then when you come out in front of him, you make sure your guns are pointing in the correct direction, are loaded and ready to go. It's not rocket science. And yet, somehow... he's 3 kills, 3 cap circles and 400 points behind. Despite 303,000 damage and 6 kills. There is no justice in the world. Oh, and if you're thinking the main's going to salvage the game, this isn't an episode of A Game of Throws. It's an episode of A Game of Noes. The homeless dude in the Republique. 303,000 damage, 6 kills. It's just not enough, is it? It doesn't matter if the enemy team are constantly making the most basic errors and getting punished for it. Some teams just cannot be carried. That's 2,000 base experience on a defeat. I mean, it's 1,000 for the Moskva, which is a heartbreak for him, but 2,100 on a defeat. He got more experience for losing than all but 2 members of the enemy team got for winning. And the Shimakaze only beat him by an inch. The homeless dude, I feel kind of weird saying this, but congratulations on achieving what is simultaneously both the best and the worst result I think I've seen in a game of World of Warships this year. Honestly, I don't really know what to say. I mean, congratulations and commiserations at the same time, I guess, because that was, well, it was a thing that happened. Beyond that, I really don't know what to say. Let's give him some support in the comments, because God knows he's earned it, and I'm sure he would appreciate it after that. Oh, it was just horrible to watch. Yeah, that's it. I'm done. Hope you all enjoyed it. Maybe enjoyed isn't the right word. And as always, take care, and I'll catch you next time.